Well, good day. How is everyone? I'm going to put my glasses up here. I know that's kind of funky, but I like to have my prayer hands. It's Friday, October 25th, 2024. And thank you for coming to this. What is today? Today is Free For All Friday. That's what I was trying to get out. Hello, Denise and CJ and Sister Jeannie and CW, CCC and D. This seems to be a popular day. People are really curious about the deception in the world, and especially when it comes to finances. They know that there's this hidden hand, if you will, and you know those people who... Now, I'm just showing you, okay? So I'm not doing it as part of the group, and I think that would be the right hand anyway. Anyway, the hidden hand tries to keep things from us. And the hidden hand is nothing more than Satanism and Luciferianism and deception and evil and all that sort of thing. All right, purely for self motive. All right, so we're gonna tackle some more. I was pre-reading on the Straw Man book, and let me show that book again up close. If anybody wants to get it, there's 3 in the series. Probably not a bad idea, but remember, this is from an American perspective, and what I mean by that is not a Catholic perspective. Okay, so all right, there's. Looks foggy to me or blurry to me, but I'm always blurry. And yeah. So that's the book. Meet Your Straw Man and Whatever You Want to Know. So tell a little story about how it's interesting because I'm in contact with a gentleman. I'll start it here. The Deam Matronam Nostrae Demisum Christum Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. The process of oppression and financial abuse begins basically not long after you're born. And when you learn about what they do, what they have done, it's kind of complicated, and I don't really want to get into it because trying to fully grasp the deceit is difficult. And the idea here is to bring it to simplicity, but that it does begin with the intention by the small hats to control your energy from the beginning. It is a most diabolical means of abuse. And so when I was young, as a young family, starting out, but I was, again, when I was challenged about my faith, I dug in and said, okay, what does it mean to be Catholic? Because I was Catholic. I was called Catholic, blah, blah, blah. And so, if you're Catholic and you don't know what that means, then dig into it and find out. Okay, don't accept what somebody else tells you. All right, find out why. Or if you were brought into a Hindu family or a whatever, find out what that really means and whether or not that's okay with you. Because when you start to explore, you'll find out. So I found out, looking back yesterday, into some of my old paperwork, because I was talking with this gentleman, and he was basically reminding me of these old procedures that I used to do, only they apparently weren't as effective back then because they were just being introduced. I was always ahead of myself, or ahead of my time, if you will. And so literally it was in 2005 4 and 5 when I got into financial trouble, and I learned about the truth and the deception. And so I'm going to turn this way just so that light there. And so I said, oh, okay, I can set things up the way it was supposed to be in 1913, and we'll get talking to that right soon, about what happened when the Federal Reserve took our ability to pay bills away. They gave us a remedy. Whenever, it's kind of like this, it's probably a satanic rule, or maybe it's God's rule that if you take something away, you have to give something in return. But I learned of this remedy, but nobody else knew about it. Okay, and I thought everybody was at least in government, was intentionally, and banking was intentionally trying to keep this information from us. And again, they were at the very top. Okay, just like the entry-level Freemasons have no idea what the 33 and above degrees are really about. And so in my naivete, I just started making postings. Well, they ended up ignoring everything that I sent, and I'd sent all kinds of administrative process, which is what they use, the bankers use, when they want to, let's say, take your house, or they want to they send you notice. And if you don't respond, which most people don't because they don't know how, okay, they do it 3 times, and then boom, your house is gone. Okay, they get the courts to come in, and they get the sheriff to come in and whatnot. But little did people know it works both ways. Okay, so you can perform administrative service on them, and if they ignore you after 3 attempts, they become in dishonor, and you can legally obtain everything that was on your orders or offers, I should say, as if they didn't respond. So anyway, they ended up, now they didn't respond to me, and I responded to them, and they still took the house. Okay, so I was homeless, and I couldn't stand it there anyway, and so we left. But I have all this paperwork from years ago, 20 years ago, that says that I should never have had the house taken from me. So I'm going to be talking to the gentleman about this and say, because there is no statute of limitations on fraud, okay? And fraud vitiates all contracts, okay? So which means that none of the contracts are any good. And so this will be kind of our journey to see where it goes. Now, a caveat here also, you have to be a certain type of person to do this. You have to be crazy, courageous, etc. There's the caveat here, though, is more about who is promoting this stuff now, like this administrative process, these strawman groups, Telegram groups, and whatnot. And I've been watching them very carefully, as has Mr. Nobody when I was showing him some of the stuff, and he was very, very concerned. And I just so you know, I look at things with an eye to pick out the truth, okay, and throw away the lies or the deception or the ignorances or whatever. So in these groups, we're finding really lower, and when I say lower, I mean far away from Catholicism. And again, mainly because they have been taught, okay, by the small hats, that the Catholic Church and the Catholicity is the most horrible thing that there ever was or is. And again, they don't look into it. They accept the word because they were brought up with that. ingrained in their programming, and so they accept that. So in any case, they go off and become pagans or Moors, Muslims, or just sad individuals. And so they keep giving me the information, and say this gentleman has a lot of really good information, and he's a really great guy. So I go there, I go to his website, and it's the name of the website is onestupidf.com. Okay, no, it's spelled out. I'm like, this is, you cannot get any more depraved. Okay, and yet there is a plethora of information. I really, really feel very sad for the gentleman. His soul is so, and again, I can see in his heart he has really good intentions, but his soul has been so malformed in his conscience that I can see he's screaming for the Holy Trinity. Deam patronum nostra et Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. It would be really hard for him to be able to get there. Anyway, so we have to be very, very careful, is what I'm trying to get to, is from being and seeing the quality of the souls that are involved with this straw man thing. All right. Again, you have to be well formed in your own conscience and practicing it. And even then, and even myself now, I'm very, very hesitant about this, because I really like, St. Catherine of Siena, and I like that part of things that is so filling of the soul and the mind, that I don't want to go there. But at the same time, I am struggling with this, that I want to be able to help people not be enslaved. So just opening my heart a little bit here, I'm struggling with this. So, but in any case, I'm still going to educate and help everyone with this as I am called. If it becomes too much of a burden interiorly, I'm just going to stop, and we'll leave it there. And you'll know it, and I appreciate that, because everybody wants some relief, and I know, again, that's what heaven is all about. So if we constantly remember, that that's where our relief goes. Not to say that we don't get spates of relief here while we're on earth, because sometimes it takes such a special soul to be able to endure continually. Even the saints were given reprieves. All right, so let's get started with the Good Day Rising prayers, and then I will read this section of the straw man so you'll understand a little bit more about the wars and why we have the banking mess, country, anti-monarchy, etc. that we have. And maybe we can warm people up to the better way, because there is a better way. In nomine Deum patronum nostra et Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Let us place ourselves in the presence of the Holy Trinity, as envisioned by St. Lucia in the Trinitarian Theophany, and in Catholic contemplation humbly adore the Divine Family. Most holy and venerable Holy Trinity, one divine family, I believe that thou art here present. I venerate thee with the deepest humility. I render to thee with my whole heart the homage which is due to thee. O most holy Trinitarian Theophany, the Holy Trinity, relying on thy infinite goodness and promises, I hope to obtain the pardon of my sins, the help of thy grace and life everlasting, through the merits of Deum Iesum Christum. O most holy Trinity, I love thee above all things with my whole heart and soul, because thou art all good and worthy of all love. I love my neighbor as myself for love of thee, and I forgive all who have injured me, and ask pardon of all whom I have injured. Let us thank the Holy Trinity for the many graces that we receive and offer ourselves in our sufferings up to heaven and for the souls in purgatory. O most Holy Trinity, I most humbly thank thee for all the favors thou hast bestowed upon me to the present moment. It is again thanks to thy bounty that I should live to see this day, and I desire to employ it solely in thy service. I consecrate to thee all my thoughts, words, actions, and sufferings of this day. Sanctify them, that there may be none that is not animated by thy love, or that would not tend to thy greater glory. Let us beg of God the graces which are necessary to us. O most Holy Trinity, thou knowest my weakness, and that I am unable to do anything good without the help of thy grace. Deny me not thy grace, proportionate to my necessities. Give me strength to avoid everything which thou forbiddest, to practice the good which thou hast commanded, and enable me patiently to bear all the trials which it may please thee to send me. O Dea Matronam Nostrae, I place myself under thy protection. I throw myself with confidence into the arms of thy compassion. Be to me, O Mother of Mercy, my refuge in distress, my consolation in suffering, now and at the hour of my death. O most Holy Trinity, Dea Matronam Nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. I am heartily sorry for having offended thee, and I detest all my sins, because I dread the loss of heaven and the pains of hell, but most of all because they offend thee, O most Holy Trinity, who are all good and deserving of all my love. I firmly resolve, with the help of thy grace, to confess my sins, to do penance, and to amend my life, constantly amend my life through discernment. Okay. The United States fought the War of the American Revolution primarily over the Currency Act of King George III, which forced the colonists to conduct their business only with printed banknotes borrowed from the Bank of England at interest. Again, the Rothschilds has already taken over England, and they were working on country by country with their diabolical plan. After the Revolution, the United States adopted a radically different economic system in which the government issued its own value-based money, so that private banks like the Bank of England were not siphoning off the wealth of the people through interest-bearing banknotes. The refusal of King George III to allow the colonies to operate an honest money system, which freed the ordinary man from the clutches of the money manipulators, was probably the prime cause of the revolution. Benjamin Franklin. But bankers are nothing if not dedicated to their schemes to acquire your wealth. And again, there's those bankers who are the few, who are the deceivers, who get the weak ones who are not strong in their faith to do their bidding, okay? So the small hats are in charge, and they get these weak, quote-unquote Christians or atheists to do their bidding because they're weak in their conscience. And they know how easy it is to corrupt the leaders of a nation. Just 1 year after, and again, this is why Freemasonry and the small hats constantly wanted to have the destruction of the Catholic Church. And the best way that they could do that was to infiltrate it. They tried fighting it, but that didn't work. Just 1 year after Meyer Amschel Rothschild had uttered his infamous statement, quote, "Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws," unquote, the bankers succeeded in setting up a new private central bank called the First Bank of the United States, largely through the efforts of the Rothschilds' chief U.S. supporter, Alexander Hamilton. Okay? And again, Freemasonry comes into play here, anti-Catholicism, etc. There's a lot of different ways and deceptions that come into play to get these men to do these things. Founded in 1791, by the end of the 20-year charter, the First Bank of the United States had almost ruined the nation's economy. while enriching the bankers. Sound familiar? Congress refused to renew the charter, signaling their intention to go back to a state-issued, value-based currency on which the people paid no interest at all to any banker. This resulted in a threat from Nathan Meyer Rothschild against the U.S. government. Quote, either the application for a renewal of the charter is granted, or the United States will find itself involved in a most disastrous war, unquote. Here we go with the war, okay? Congress still refused to renew the charter. That was when some had a backbone. Refused to renew the charter for the first bank in the United States, whereupon Rothschild railed, quote, teach those impudent Americans a lesson. Bring them back to colonial status, unquote. So they had already done quite well under, well, they were doing well until they got that bank. Financed by the Rothschild-controlled Bank of England, Britain then launched the War of 1812 to recolonize the United States, force it back into slavery to the Bank of England, or to plunge it into so much debt that the people would be forced to accept a new private central bank. The plan worked. Even though the War of 1812 appeared to be won by the United States, Congress was forced to grant a new charter for yet another private bank, issuing the public currency as loans at interest. And that was the second bank of the United States. Once again, private bankers were in control of the nation's money supply and cared not who made the laws or how many British and American soldiers had to die for it. Another act that they ended up succeeding with the War of 1812 was the removal of one of the amendments to the Constitution that prevented anybody with a claim of status, like a lawyer, a squire, a member of a foreign country, any kind of ties to a foreign country. The amendment said that if you had one of those titles, you could not be in government. You could not be a member of Congress, the Senate, etc., or president. Okay, so you couldn't be a lawyer and be in, because you would have to be a member of the bar, and that's a British accreditation registry, BAR. So they removed that when they attacked Washington. They went right into the and stole the book, basically, and removed all evidence of that when they succeeded in taking over Washington. And really, that's what they were looking for. They were looking to destroy documents. They weren't looking to take control of the. They wanted to do it the Rothschild way. They wanted to control the nation, not destroy it. Once again, the nation was plunged into debt, unemployment, and poverty through the plundering of the private central bank. And in 1832, Andrew Jackson successfully campaigned for his second term as president under the slogan, Jackson and no bank. True to his word, Jackson succeeded in blocking the renewal of the charter for the Second Bank of the United States. Quote, gentlemen, I too have been a close observer of the doings of the Bank of the United States. I have had men watching you for a long time and am convinced that you have used the funds of the bank to speculate in the breadstuffs of the country. Key word there, speculate. When you won, you divided the profits amongst yourselves, and when you lost, you charged it to the bank. You tell me that if I take the deposits from the bank and annul its charter, I shall ruin 10,000 families. That may be true, gentlemen, but they're not gentlemen. But that is your sin. If I let you go on, you will ruin 50,000 families, and that would be my sin. You are a den of vipers and thieves. I have determined to rout you out, and by the eternal God, bringing his fist down on the table, I will rout you out. Unquote. That was Andrew Jackson shortly before ending the charter of the Second Bank of the United States. Shortly after President Jackson, the only American president to actually pay off the national debt, ended the Second Bank of the United States. There was an attempted assassination which failed when both pistols used by the assassin, Richard Lawrence, failed to fire. Lawrence later said that, quote, with Jackson dead, money would be more plentiful. Can you say quantitative easing? Of course, the present-day American public school system is as subservient to the bankers' wishes to keep certain items of history from you, just as the corporate media is subservient to Monsanto's wishes to keep the dangers of genetically modified foodstuffs from you. Thus, it should come as little surprise that much of the real reasons for the events of the Civil War are not well known to the average American. And again, I don't think, again, here's my opinion here, Congress abruptly left session, and I think it was 1863, 64, 65, somewhere in there, all right? They said they just walked out. Honestly, I think something much bigger occurred in nature at that moment, and they just ran. It wasn't a matter of procedure that they were, because I think they just ran. And again, my opinion here, because there's evidence of a lot of changes in the 1800s, is I think that's when the last mild MCO occurred. It also there's also, again, this time where so many things were happening. It was like a time where things were starting again. And the idea of a money system, a new country, people were trying to get control of something to start with. So I believe that that's part of this effort here is for this fight for control, and I think we're coming up to another section of that as well. A time, I should say, not section. All right. When the Confederacy constitutionally seceded from the United States, the bankers once again saw the opportunity for a rich harvest of debt and offered to fund Lincoln's efforts to bring the South back into the Union by force, but at 30% interest. Lincoln remarked that he would not free the black men by enslaving the white man to the bankers. So using his authority as president, he issued a new government currency, the greenback. There's multiple levels of things going on here, but in the eyes of the small hats and the controllers, money was the number one here at this time. The excuse or the emotional aspect was freeing the slaves. And again, slavery was that was a small hat venture of profit for them, bringing slaves. And the weak Protestant Freemasons who were greedy for money happily went along with it and helped them with that. Okay, so there's all sorts of stuff. This is why we have to have a Catholic monarchy. This was a direct threat to the wealth and power of the central bankers of the United States, who responded quickly. If this mischievous financial policy, which has as its origin in North America, becomes entrenched, then the government will issue its own money without cost. It will pay off debts and be without debt. It will have all the money necessary to carry on its commerce. It will become prosperous to a degree which is without precedent in the history of the world. The brains and wealth of all countries will migrate to North America. That country must be destroyed, or it will destroy every monarchy on the globe. Okay, that was written in the London Times, responding to Lincoln's decision to issue government greenbacks to finance the Civil War, rather than to agree to the private bankers' loans at 30% interest. So you can see right where in that decision there that there is such a time that it could be prosperous, and that if it's done right and under Catholic control, and when I say that, I mean truly like saintly Catholics, a saintly monarch, one who really lives by virtue and not weakness, but in courage and in justfulness, if that's a word, with justice. All right, I'm over quite a bit, so let's get started with Mass. Please pray reverently that we succeed, if not us, our children. Things are happening rapidly, though. Do 2 stove things quick before it gets too hot in here. Deum vobiscum, quoque pote. Oremus. O most holy Trinity, the Creator and Redeemer of all the faithful, grant to the souls of thy servants and handmaids the remission of all their sins, that they may obtain by loving prayers the forgiveness which they have always desired, who livest and reignest with thee, one holy Trinity, one holy family, forever and ever. Suscipe Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, hanc immaculatum hostium, quam ego indinius famulus tuus offeritibi Deum eum vivum et verum, pro inumidibus peccatis et offensionibus et negligencies meis, et pro omnibus circumstantibus, sere pro omnibus fidelibus catholicorum, vivis atque defunctis ut mihi edidis proficietat salutem. Deum qui humanae substantia dignitatem mirabilito condeditia mirabilis reformasti da nobis spiritus atque divini mysterium, eius divinitatis esse consortis criminitatis nostrae, fieri natus est parte ceps Deum Iesum Christum Filium, qui tegum vivit et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Offerimus tibi Deum calicem salutaris tuum de peccatis clementium, ut in aspectu divinae majestatis tuae pro nostra totius mundus adute cum odore suavitatis ascendat. In spiritu humilitatis et in animo contrito suscipi amarate Deum Iesum Christum, et fiat sacrificium nostrum et expetu tu hodie, ut placiat tibi Deum matronam nostra et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Veni sanctificator, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, et sanctificite plata prosequendo et accepere hoc sacrificium tuo sancto nomini praeparatum. Suscipe Sancta Trinitas congrationem cum tibi eferimus homonem passiones, resurrectiones et descensiones Deum Iesum Christum, et in honorem Deum matronam nostra et a Papa Peter Sanctorum et Istorum et Omnem Sanctorum, ut idis proficietat honorem nobis autem et salutem et illi pro nobis intercedere et in interim caelis, coram amore magibus interis per innum Christum nostrum. Orate ut meum equestrum sacrificium acceptabile fiat per Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Suscipiat Deum Iesum Christum, sacrificium de manibus tuis et laudem et gloriam nominis sui ad utilitatem quoque nostram, totiusque ecclesiae suae sanctae. Deum vobiscum, et quoque pote, sursum corda, et nos ad Deum, gratias agamus Deum nostrum, dignum et justum est. Dei getorle medesimi mater pater, dem matrum nostrae, dem patrum spiritum sanctum, pedemis in Christum fidem tuum, dem nostrae, supplices, rogamus et petimus, uti accepta habeas, et sanctificas, rec sanctam sacrificium irribata, in primis quae tibi afferimus pro ecclesiam tuum sanctum catholicam, quam pacificare, custodire, aronare, et redere dineris toto veterarum atquae catholicae. Memento Deum famorum coetuorum. We pray for the sick and the suffering. We pray for Katie, Gage, R.M., Neil and Earl Lively, Maria Josephina Mose, Letitia, Mark Jr., Henry, Barbara, and Benedict Santa Croce, James Santa Croce, Mr. Nobody, Amble Tink, the Cantu and Duarte families, Michaela McLarnon and family, Janelina, Lori, Aaron and family, Maria and the Lineweber family, the Cahill, Kendrick, Dasco, Nye, Tafour, Biggin, Wolf, and Kane families. We pray for Mr. Nobody to receive the funding and strength needed to complete the first Sedevacantis Catholic Council office in Monastery of Illinois. We pray for an end to all governmental allowance or sanctioning of abortion, transgenderism, transhumanism, child trafficking, child abuse of any kind, anywhere, place, or time. We pray for an end to all governmental allowance or sanctioning of lying or deception. We pray for the establishment of a Catholic monarchy with a sound Catholic system of labor, human value, medium of exchange with no usury, and for courageous men to step forward as leaders of this Catholic society. We pray for all the other intentions listed here and ask them to be done according to thy holy and divine will. Et omnium circumstantium coram tibi fides cognita est et nota devotio, pro quibus tibi afferimus, veruc tibi affrontox sacrificium laudis processuisque omnibus, pro redemptione animarum suarum, pro spe salutis et economitatis suae, tibi credum vota sua, aeterno Deum vivo et vero. Communicantes et memoriam venerantes in primis gloriosae, semper Deum materam nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Beatorum martyrium tuorum Papa Sancti Petri, et Sancti Luci, et Sancti Jacinta, et Sancti Francisco, et Sancti Juan Diego, et omnium sanctorum tuorum quorum meritis, praecibusque concedas ut in omnibus protectiones tuae monum et exilio periendum Christum Deum nostrum, quam oblationem te Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum in omnibus consecratum acceptabilem perfecere dineris ut nobis corpum, et sanguinem fiat didictissimi filium tuum Deum Iesum Christum, qui pridie quam pateretur recepit panem in sanctus ac venabilis manus suas, et derivatis oculis in calamate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum suum omnipotentem tibi gratias agens, consecravit frege didique lunis sui digens accipite et mandacate ex hoc omnes. Hoc est enim corpus meum. Simile modo postquam ceremonia est accipiens erhunc preclarum calicem in sanctus ac honorabilis manus suas et in tibi gratias agens Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, consecrave dedique lunis sui dicens accipite et bibite ex omnes. Hic est enim calix sanguinis mei, mysterium fidei, quae pro nobis et pro multis effundetur in remissione peccatorum, aequat est cum praefigeritis in me facetis. Unde et memoris Deum nos servituis, sed plebs tua sancta iustum Christum filium tuum Deum nostrae, tam beate passionis nec non et ben fedis resurrectionis, sed et in caelos gloriosa ascensionis, offerimus praeclare maestati tuae et tuis donis actatis, supra quae palpitio ac sereno vultur respicieri digneris. Supplices te rogamos Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum ibi hec preferibile manus tuum ut quod, ex aquataris participationis sacrosanctum Deum filium tuum, corpus et sanguinem sincerimus, omnis sanctificatione caeles gratia Dei per amore per in Christum Deum nostrae. pray for those who have died. We especially pray for Adelaide Stelzer, for whom this Mass is being offered. Ipsite et omnibum in Christum quis gentibum locum refugere illucis epacis ut odorge est proclamor pedinum Christum Deum nostrum, perquam hic omnia Deum Iesum Christum semper bona creas, sanctificas, vivicas, consecratis et praestas nobis. Per ipsum et cum ipso et in ipso, est tibi Deum Matron omnipotenti in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, omnis honor et gloria. Ave Dea, Matronam Nostrae, gratia plena Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum tecum, sanctam tuum in mulieribus, Dea Matronam Nostrae, Materam Deum Iesum Christum, misericordia nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Libera nos quaesimus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum ab omnibus malis, praeteritis, praesentibus et futuris, et intercedente beata et gloriosa semper Dea Matronam Nostrae. Cum Papa Petrum Sanctorum et omnibus sanctis da propitius pacem in diebus nostris. Ut opi misericordiae tuae aduiti et peccato, simus semper liberi et ab omni perturbatione secori. Per indum Deum nostrum Iesum Christum filium tuum Deum nostrum, qui tegum vivit et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per aeternam. Pax Deum Iesum Christum sit semper vobiscum, et quoque apud te. Haecum extio consecratio cooperis sanguinis Deum Iesum Christum, fiat accipientibus nobis in et salutem aeternam. Pax tecum, et quoque apud te. Deum Iesum Christum, qui ex voluntate Deum Matronam Nostrae, cooperante Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per mortem tuam unum vivificasti, libera me per hoc sacro sanctum corpus et sanguinum tuum ab omnibus iniquitatibus meis, et universis malis, et fac me tui semper inhalare mandatis, et in omquam separare permittas, qui cum eodem Deum Matronam Nostrae, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum vivis et reinam aeternam, perceptio corporis tui Deum Iesum Christum, quod ego indinius sumere praesimo non mihi proveniat in judicium condemnationem, sed pro tu pietate prosit mihi ad tutementum mentis et corporis, et ad me delam percipiendam qui vivis et reinas cum Deum Matronam Nostrae, in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. In panem celestum accipiem, et nomen Deum Iesum Christum invocabo. Dea Matronam Nostrae non sum dignius, ut dissertatem meis, in tante requeribus in patronum mea. Deum Iesum Christum non sum dignius, ut dissertatem meis, in tante requeribus in patronum mea. Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum non sum dignius, ut dissertatem meis, in tante requeribus in patronum mea. Corpus Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima mea. Credere turbum Deum Iesum Christum pro omnibus quaere turbuit mihi, calicem saitaris accipiem et nomen Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum invocabo, laudans invocabo Deum Matronam Nostrae et ab inimicis meis avocero. Sanguis Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima meam. Corore sumpsimus Deum Iesum Christum finamente capiamus et immunente parafit nobis remedium sempiternum. corpus tuum Deum Iesum Christum, quod sumpse sanguis quam patavi ad here risceribus meis apraesta, ut in me non remaniat scerul macula quem pira, et sancta reficerunt sacramenta. Deum vobiscum, et quoque apotei, oremus. May the prayer of thy suppliants profit the souls of thy servants and handmaids, we beseech thee, O Trinitarian Theophany, that thou mayest free them from all sins and make them sharers in thy redemption, who livest and reignest with thee, one divine family, forever and ever. Deum vobiscum, et quoque apotei, ite mises, Deum gratia. Placia tibi sancta Trinitam obsequium servitutis meae, et praesta ut sacrificium cur oculis tuae majestatis in nos autori tibi seta captavere mique et omnibus, proquibus irbut octolis siti miserante propitiabile pecus Deum nostrum. Sanctificat vos omnipotens Deum, Matronam, et Filium, et Spiritum Sanctum, Deum Matronam nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. O most holy Trinity, I believe, I venerate, I hope, and I love thee. I beg of thee pardon for those who do not believe, do not venerate, do not hope, and do not love thee. Most holy Trinity, I venerate thee profoundly, and I offer to thee the most precious body, blood, soul, and divinity of Deum Iesum Christum present here in reparation for the outrages, sacrileges, and indifference by which he himself is offended, and through the infinite merits of his most sacred heart and immaculate heart of Deum Matronam Nostrae, I beg of thee the conversion of poor sinners. In nomine Deum Matronam Nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. All right. I appreciate everything. My supplies fund is a little bit low. If anybody has a couple extra dollars to send for that, that would be awesome. And I appreciate your giving to Mr. Nobody when I asked. It's very helpful, and hopefully we'll see what happens with this IRS thing. As it happens right now, it's all just on paper, except for one check I did get, and again, we'll keep you posted on that and let you know how that goes. Yeah, they accepted some of my paperwork recently for 2022 and 2023, but it doesn't look like I'll be able to actually hear anything about the results of that until mid-November. Hang in there. Thank you for watching, for being here, and for praying and learning about the Rosary. Have a great day. Please go and sanctify all those you meet. We'll see you tomorrow morning.